Hey, what's up guys? So yes, Jake is here with the review for the new episode of Gotham. Since Gotham wasn't on tonight, I figured, you know what? Let's do a new episode. So yes, Pinewood was last week's episode, and it was a very, very interesting episode. So, since last week's episode, we figured out that Gordon is going to dig into finding the murder of the Wayne's case and who kind of orchestrated it and hired matches to do what they needed to do. And Bruce Wayne is also doing his own investigation. Now, I'm just going to say this and set the record straight for this. I think that this whole kind of thing about making the Wayne's murder all these backdoor things and, all that, it's interesting, but I don't think it's really necessary. I get it's necessary for this storytelling, but I don't really understand. I didn't really, understand the need for it. Matches could have been the guy, and then it could have just ended there. Because, in the comics, I don't believe it's not this complicated thing. They're like, oh yeah, everybody orchestrated this. This person hired this, and this, and this, and this, and this. But I felt like it is an interesting story. It does take the characters and the series into an interesting place, to where how they set it up, and I'd have to say it's pretty interesting. So yes, definitely it was cool to see, both Bruce and Alfred and Karen, kind of in a way. They find Karen first, and then Barbara and Gordon figure out do one side. So, what Bruce and Alfred kind of find out are, they find Karen, who is a test subject, who his father kind of had some run-ins with in the past, and so then they find her, and looks like she has a dinosaur kind of, I don't know how to describe it, kind of a scaly kind of hand, because she was disabled when she was little, and she killed her father by accident, and she got sent to Blackgate, and experiments started to happen, and Bruce's father was the leader of it, but he didn't know that it was all orchestrated the way it was, so then he stopped it once he figured out what was going on, and turns out he was too late. So that was definitely an interesting storyline, and I did like them, going where they did go, how they went to the old institution where Pinewood was, and how they kind of dug up that information from Karen as they did. And I thought that was very interesting, and I really liked that. And I really did like the idea of Bruce and Gordon both doing their own kind of thing, because then once Bruce becomes Batman in the future, then it'll be like that when it actually happens, when he's grown up and, becomes the Batman, because then Bruce can do his part, and then Gordon can do the other part, and then they can work together, and boom, done. And it's good to see that kind of friendship form between these two, because I'd say it is important. It is an important friendship that these two have in the comics, I'd say, and definitely in the movies, because then it shows kind of that these two work together, and there's a reason why they work together, and it gives a good history kind of to what their kind of backgrounds have been like. So, it's interesting to see that. And then, moving on to Gordon and Barbara's storyline. So we pick up right where the last episode left off, where Gordon is right with Barbara, right at his doorstep, and he's like, why are you here, And she's like, oh, I'm trying to make amends and all this stuff. And he's just like, no, I'm not buying this, get out. And so, yeah, then everything goes from there, and then Gordon finds this lady who he's tracked down, and Barbara said she wanted to help, but he didn't let her help. And so then she meets him at this club where this chick is, and I think it's a lesbian club, because if there's only girl groups. So, and I kind of picked up that vibe. Maybe it isn't, but that's kind of how it presented itself. But moving on, that's not the point. Then we get to kind of the same situation, because then Gordon tries to figure out his own information and gets caught. And so then it is Gordon in the chair with Barbara and this redhead chick and the other chick who is trying to stop him, from getting into the club, all around him. And I didn't think there was a big surprise when we found out that Barbara was not a bad guy and not working against Jim, because once she started once she was like, yeah, you'll never find out who it is, you might as well tell him, if he's never gonna find out, and kind of like that. And I was like, Oh yeah, she's not really on her side. She's faking it to get the information out because it's been done so many times before in different kind of mediums, like in the movies and everything from what I've seen, and it's happened before, and it's just like, oh, it's not that much of a surprise. So it's just that sort of thing. So it's not that big of a deal. But I definitely did find that intriguing. I did like that kind of relationship between those two when they were together, to see that. And it's just like, because she said to him a couple times, you and me, we make a good team and that stuff. And then he's just like, no. And then he runs off, and then she goes back to her lesbian friend of Gallivan's sister, and yeah, and then that's at the kind of the end of the episode. And definitely, I really did like how Bruce found out. Well, Gordon found out the philosopher. Bruce found out that the guy was the head of Pinewood and worked with his father. And I really did like to see how these two storylines came together, and how in the end, Karen is killed after she's been arrested, and Mr. Freeze comes back in. And Mr. Freeze, I'd say, was kind of just like a, he was, I don't know, he was just kind of shoehorned in there to be like, yeah, I'm still here, something like that. But I think it would have been cooler if Azrael would have been put in there instead. Even though Azrael wasn't in there right away, we could have saved that reveal. Like, we could have seen that, he was beating up those guys, and then he's like, you know what, let's send him out to the field to kill her. And then we actually could see that fight happen, and that would have been interesting, because then it would have set up the next couple episodes with Azrael, and I think that could have been really interesting. And at the beginning of the episode, I think they kind of spoiled it, because I knew Dr. Hugo Strange was going to be the one, because he was like, yes, oh, they're digging into the Wayne Enterprise. Oh, that's bad. And, it was kind of obvious. So I was like, oh, he's the one. So, I don't know. I don't think they should have done that. Maybe they should have saved it until a little bit later. But, yeah. It was not very good. Well, it's not that it wasn't very good. It's just, kind of predictable. But it's going to be interesting to see kind of how they decide to take him down and what they will do with Gallivan now. So, it's going to be interesting to see, what'll happen. But definitely am going to be looking forward to next week's episode. I will give this episode a 4.5 out of 5 winks. I really did like a lot of the good things about it. A lot of the good things about it were the acting. The story was pretty good. And kind of just what, kind of all went on. But I did feel like some things were a little bit wasted, like Mr. Freeze. He was just kind of shoehorned in there to be like, yes, I'm still here, I'm still here. We'll probably won't see him for the rest of the season. I don't know, probably not. But, I don't know what's going to happen next. And it just felt like he was shoehorned in there just to be in there. And I felt like this twist with Dr. Hugo Strange, being, oh yeah, I'm the bad guy. But I didn't really like that. And it kind of makes, well, I don't know. But, I wish they wouldn't have really kind of revealed it, because once I figured out, oh, yeah, he's talking about Wayne Enterprises, obviously he's the one kind of dealt with that. So, those are just my little nitpicks, but that's the reason why I kind of give it a little bit of that. And I think for the average viewer, they might think that as well. But, yeah, guys, that's about it. And I'm Jay Wink, and I'm winking out!